My name is Halima Dalhatu, the author of Random Nigerianna, A Tale of Six Struggles. I'm a public servant, but has a great passion in writing. I express myself through writing. It's a healing method for me, very therapeutic. I like to tell stories that relate to life and how life happens to people, because some people find it very difficult to express themselves. But they read something and say, look, this thing makes sense to me. I have my own story in words that I cannot express. They can read a story and say, look, is this person talking about me? There's this section of a book I've read that says, some part of your life appeared in that book. It wasn't you, but it was an imagination that came from somewhere that somebody put in words, and you can relate and it will resonate with you. The whole idea of literature is for you to interpret it in any way you like, because literature makes meaning in different ways to different people. So ideally, the day I started writing, I felt I should tell people stories in different ways. Characters, we are Nigerians. Why not pick characters from all over Nigeria, where a Yoruba man can pick up and say yes. Then a Yoruba man meets an Igbo guy, reads about Yoruba guy and say, no, this should have been me. He may be, she may be Bumi, or he may be Lanre, but this is me, Chuka, or Chinenye, or whatever, because stories are universal and they bring us together. We forget what it means to be different. But when you read a book, you find that you are not any different from the next person. That life that was portrayed in words could just be you. So Random Nigerianna brings us in that same unifying space. Every story in that book is a Nigerian story of a different individual in a different circumstance, but it makes sense to us. So the whole essence of writing that book is for somebody to pick it up and say, this lady made meaning to me. I've gotten something from it. I see somebody and I don't know his story and I judge him. Why should I judge him without knowing the story? I have a story here, the first story, The Battered Mind. A battered mind. Battered mind is someone that had a bad life at an early age. Had a terrible dad who womanizes, and then that child grew up seeing his father do that. He didn't like it, but unconsciously, he absorbed it. He didn't start exhibiting such traits until he grew up. His mother was the victim, At the end of the day, the father abused her and she died. And that lived with him. So he sees somebody that looked like his mother. And he snapped. He ended up abusing her the way his father abused his mother. And because she bore the same name as his mother, he saw his mother in that lady. And now took himself to be his father, to do exactly what his father did to his mother. So that kind of story, you see somebody on the streets and you don't know his real story. His real story, what made him become evil. But by the time you read his story, you become empathic and you say, no, this wasn't his fault. He was just a victim. So that's what I want to tell Nigerians, that when you see people, don't be quick to judge them. They have a story behind them. Chimamanda has told us before that you shouldn't take, just one story. People have more than one story. You should look at somebody with the total view, not just your narrow view about that person because of your encounter. I have been trying to write and publish a book for a while. But you see, the mind of the writer snaps in and out sometimes, because you have to get the right mood to get the right words to put down. I've gone through the whole stories over 50 or 60 times. Every time you read it, you're changing something because you want it to come out just the way you imagine things. The good thing about my writing style is that for everything I see, I make a story from it. There's a story, I just saw a child, the story, The Blue-Eyed Destiny. I went for a wedding and I saw, a child that had bluish eyes, and I said, wow, this is an interesting one. Can't I make something supernatural about this? And I picked up my laptop that day and I wrote out a story and linked it up with how it affected an individual. And then that person became her destiny. Most of my stories are always form as I type. I don't have a plot, I don't sketch. When I pick my laptop, I just type away and it just starts flowing. The next, where I stop, the next time I pick it, I continue from there. It takes a dimension. Now, every time I'm trying to wrap up a story, I now say, okay, how did it start from the beginning? Beginning and end, they're very important in writing, right? So you have to conclude it. But then, my style is always leaving you hanging. You want more. Or asking, no, why did she end it like that? You're hanging in the air. Keeps you hungry. You want more, so that next time Halima had to write a story, oh, I need to get to, maybe it's a sequel. Maybe she's going to tell us what we want to hear. She didn't end it well. Why did she end it? And we're just expecting more. So it gives your mind open to a lot of interpretations, the way you want to see it. My writing was an escape route for me. You work so hard, you're dealing with lots of issues, the whole world, stuff and everything. And then you want to run away to your own quiet place. And you don't want to relate that quiet space with your everyday life because it's your getaway. That writing is my getaway. I get so absorbed. I even feel as if I have conversations with the characters. So most times it helps me relax. You come back home stressed and then you're thinking, look, I have to do something for myself. What have I done? I've given out so much of myself public work. What are you going to do for yourself before you go to bed? Take 1 hour out of your precious time. And when I go, I just lock myself in a room. I have an extra room next to my husband's and then I stay there and I type. That 1 hour means so much to me because I find myself there. And I tell myself, this is the real me. I want to see Nigerians see things differently. We should be able to see people differently. We should be able to stop being judgmental, bringing people down just because we meet them for the first time, we judge them. You don't even know what your leader is battling with up there. He's there trying to make a country work and everything is against that person. What do you think is right for him? You don't judge him. He's doing his best. The whole essence of reading is to open up your mind. Now, if you have a big mind, you have better chances of thinking differently. You become analytic. Critical thinking is very, very important in our lives because we help to balance things by critical thinking. And Random Nigerianna, all the stories are different. They are different in the sense that we as a people, we are different. So if you take everybody's story and say, look, I need to find a bearing in my life, and I read a book, it makes a difference. It just gets me thinking. I have the book on Amazon now, and it's there and it's reachable for everyone that wanted a soft copy of it because I subscribe because I wanted to reach an international audience to see how a character as a Nigerian is in his or her own space and how we are like normal people with problems, with struggles, and how we fight it, how we become victims of those struggles. It's a universal story, really, that I have in the books. People think writers are people that just sit down and lazy around in their own imaginations, right? Now, to be able to write is a task because you have to be able to put every word together, string them up to make sense. And then you have to capture an audience. You have to sustain that interest. Now, Nigerians believe probably there's no future in writing because they think I can't survive in writing, but it is a lucrative way that you can make a living from. They say, okay, we Nigerians don't like reading, the new age, they're always on their phones. Get their interest. If they want to read it on their phones, get it in soft copy, they can have it. But of course, the hard copy, there's nothing like it because at that point in time, you are reading from paper. That's the traditional way we've always known. Now, you read a hard copy, you sustain interest, and then people are asking for more. A book sells for 5,000 and you sell maybe 1,000 copies. You make a million. Now, if you make writing your full-time job, you can produce a book every year or twice in a year if you're dedicated. You don't have any distraction. You have to be in the right frame of mind, of course. If I'm to give up my job today, I can sustain myself from writing. I am saying it from first hand. I'm giving it to people to tell them, if you are good, dedicate your time. If you don't have the full skill, go there, learn it so that you can do it in such a way that people are hungry for more. That's how you sustain a business. You start a business, you need to sustain it. Start writing, you need to develop yourself and sustain it. It's very important. You can make a living from writing. I've achieved my second dream, and now I'm thinking that, okay, fine, I can now, mingle the two together. I'll eventually start a resource center for what I plan to do and keep writing. And then probably through writing, you'll find out that it will change teenagers' life, adolescents, because those years are key years. Those years are developing years that people should take a dimension in their life into adulthood. A lot of children don't get to open up because they have parents that are too busy or probably conservative parents. So they need somebody at the level of, somebody older to be able to draw them in and tell them, look, let's be friends. Age for this, I think, should be from 13. Because you see, when children become teenagers, they're exposed to a lot of stuff, confusing things. So now it's decent enough for a 13-year-old to read. It's decent enough for a 13-year-old to understand certain stories here. If you read, you tend to have a broader mind. And we truly need people to have broader minds so that they become less judgmental, more empathic to people's stories, and be better people in the society.